Hello, it's Deborah from the attic, and today I want to show you how to make a little wallet made out of this sort of glassine type paper. I've actually used packaging, but more of that in a moment. And I'm also going to show you how I made these pressed flower cards to store inside my little glassine wallet. If you're a returning friend, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, then hi, please subscribe, please click like or give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful. And please go and have a look at some of the other videos on my channel. Have a look through the playlist to see if your interest is in card making or journaling or doodling, and grab a cup of tea and put your feet up and have a little watch. Let me show you where this folder originated from. In France, you can buy stamps online. It saves queuing at the post office, and they send them to you in this lovely little bag, and it even says La Poste on the front of the bag. And these are fantastic glassine bags. Now this one came in a much larger bag, and it's that bag that I've used to make this folder. The folder is the really simple quick bit, and I'm going to pop these cards out so you can see how I've made it. I've taken the glassine envelope and I've cut it down into a size that is just about the same size as the cards that I want to pop into it, because I don't want them to be sort of buried in the bottom of it. I want them to sort of pop out so I can see from the top and the side. So what I've done is I've piled up pieces of paper which are roughly 3 inches by 5 inches, and then I've sewn down one edge and I've sewn down the bottom edge, and then that gives me a pocket into which I can put my cards. The cards are the next thing that I'm going to show you how I made. Have a look at these cards. I think they're rather pretty in their simplicity. These are all weeds that I have collected from my garden. If you don't have a garden, maybe you could find some in the verge by a roadside or a friend's garden. And I've cut them and I've pressed them in a little squashy thing that I've got. It's not really a flower press, it's a book press, but it kind of does the same job. And while the flowers were being pressed and prepared, I cut down pieces of card, and the card is cut down to a size that is 3 inches by 5 inches. And then I took some book pages that I have that I've had left over from other projects, and I found that when I put the book page on the card and then laid my little flowers on the top of it, the book page still was quite dominant, and I wanted to send that print more into the background. So the way that I did that was by using some primer. This is gesso primer. It's just a plain white base. You could use white acrylic paint. So I take a little of my primer and I get my brush and I just randomly put the primer over the page. What that layer of white paint has done is dilute this background, and it's a very useful technique to use if you've got some papers that are a little bit bright for your project. If you put a layer of this on, you can just dial that background down a little bit. So this is exactly what I wanted to do with my printed paper. I've got a piece here that is already dry, and I've just ripped down the sides so I get it to this sort of point where I'm happy for it to cover my background card, and I've got some 3-in-1 glue and I'm going to glue it into place. You can experiment with exactly where you want to position your background paper. I've put it in different places on each of my cards, and here's an example where I've used it just to cover the top corner. With my background ready and in place, I'm going to take my dried flowers or squashed flowers. These are actually not entirely dry yet, but they are sufficient for me to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to remove that one because that way I'll make room for this extra piece, and I don't want them all to sit at the same height. I want some variety in there, so I'll just move them a little bit about there. To secure my flowers, I'm going to use some washi tape. If you don't have washi tape, you could use sellotape, or you could use brown paper packaging tape. I'm just going to make sure I capture all of those stems, and I quite like my tape going on at a bit of an angle because nature isn't perfect. Why should your washi tape be completely straight? And I'm not very good at doing straight anyway, so that's my excuse. The next thing I'm going to do is take some twine which is ever so slightly more than 4 times the width of the card. And I'm going to tie it around the card. I'm going to leave a little tail, so I've got enough to put in a small knot and tie the twine in place like that. And what I like about this is that all the materials used in making this are natural materials. The card, the twine, the paper. There's nothing sort of plasticky or artificial going on with this. So if you put a book on top of that, that will help squash it down as well, which is what I did with the rest of the cards. And now that you know how I've made them, you can see how I've used the background paper in different places, and it just gives each card its own individual look. And I can use these now as elements in a journal. I can use them as a front piece on a greetings card, for example. I can use my glassine packaging and use it as a little tuck spot for each of these. And then this, if I wanted to, this could also sit inside a journal. I hope that's given you some ideas for things that you can do if you get some nice little packaging gifts in the form of this sort of thing. Or also a different way of looking at things that, to be honest, I consider these weeds, but when they are put on a card like this, when they are given a little bit of space to look special, I think they elevate themselves from being weeds into something a little bit more interesting. I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. As always, thank you for watching, and until we meet again, stay safe and take care.